Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is your host, Mr. Mark Tuff, cutting a promo on my thoughts on the New York Giants draft thus far. We're only into the sixth round, so I will talk about the most of the picks. Saquon Barkley, number 2 overall to the Giants. Consensus top pick in this entire draft class. Now, I must say, I was thinking the Giants would probably go with a quarterback. And if that was the case, I would have picked Josh Rosen because I don't think it's a detriment to be intelligent. So anybody who thinks, yeah, maybe he's a little cocky, okay, that's fine. Maybe that's like sort of his huge downfall. Maybe he doesn't relate to people so well. But the guy has this sort of drive and intensity to him that reminds me of Peyton Manning and sort of the polished footwork, the pocket presence, the ability to drop the ball on a dime wherever it needs to go. That is very difficult to ignore. And from a timing perspective, the kid just looks really, really good. So I think Arizona got a steal there. But the Giants, Saquon, I mean, it's really hard to argue because I'm sure part of their deliberation was the fact that they think that Eli has more time left. It's been hard to evaluate Manning the past few years because, let's be honest, he's probably had if not the worst, top 5 or bottom 5 worst offensive lines in the league, dating back to the Super Bowl year of 2011, where they beat the Pats for the second time. That was a superhuman MVP effort by Eli Manning. The Giants would have had zero business even being in the playoffs that season if it weren't for Manning throwing for, I think it was over 5,000 yards. That season, he was unbelievable. But the Giants probably looked at Manning. They probably looked at him last year in terms of McAdoo's ultra-predictable offense and were like, with this and the combination of the bad offensive line, how the heck do you actually evaluate a player of Manning's who has been successful in the right situations? And yes, are you going to knock him because he can't run around like like Aaron Rodgers? I don't think so. I mean, Eli's been proven to be successful and a winner when provided the right situation. And part of McAdoo's downfall is that, he needed Aaron Rodgers to make his offense successful. And if you talk to Green Bay fans, they think that offense is pretty dated and Rodgers is pretty much the only thing that makes it good because he can supersede how bad the offense actually is. And, Eli, great quarterback, great all-timer, but nobody is Aaron Rodgers. Let's just be honest about that. And so when you try to put it on Eli and you have somebody as unimaginative as McAdoo was trying to force the round peg in the square hole, you have a recipe for disaster. So with that said, I feel confident that in Gettleman and Shermer and the whole staff's evaluation of Manning that they must have looked at all the tape and they saw that right after McAdoo was fired, Eli Manning put up a really blazing day against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards, 350 yards or so. And that offense was adjusted away from the McAdoo predictability and incorporated some of the other concepts from Tom Coughlin's offense. So with all that said, Saquon's the pick. They must have been confident that Eli can still play, which makes me confident in the New York Giants. I love how matter-of-fact Dave Gettleman is and how they've been rushing to the podium to pick their players. That tells me that they have conviction, and I'm going to stand strong with their conviction because I feel like, if they're convicted, it's not going to be a reach situation. We're picking productive players that we know that can play and have produced in the college level. And now it's about time to plug and play them in and have confidence in them. And so the general manager, Gettleman and Shermer, they're displaying that, which makes me confident that the Giants actually know what they're doing instead of picking all these reach players, these quiet types, these tweeners, these, measurably wonderful but productively terrible players that Jerry Reese and Mark Ross had been unfortunately saddling the Giants with. So Gettleman's cleaning that culture out. So far, I love that the Giants picked Saquon. It's the first weapon in many years for the New York Giants at the running back position. That has been it'll probably be the most dynamic running back the Giants have had. Tiki, of course, was one of the game changers, and the Giants had the great 1-2 punch of Bradshaw and Jacobs for years, but Barkley is on another level. This is going to be fun to watch, and I love that they picked offensive guard Will Hernandez in the second round. Great pick. Mauler, one of the top graded running blocking guys. I think Mel Kiper called him the best graded run blocker of the past 25 years. That gives me hope that the Giants can actually open up some holes. And with Barkley, who can make something out of nothing, that gives me even more hope. Take the pressure off of Eli a little bit. Shermer is actually creative and imaginative. So I think you're going to have a lot of really interesting offensive output for the New York Giants. It's going to be very multiple, very dynamic. You can split Barkley out wide. You can put him in the slot. You can interchange him and, Sterling Shepard. And you got Beckham on the outside. You got Ingram, who can shift around, play a little bit of that H-back role. Also, he can split out wide, be in line. The kid is willing and able. And I think this New York Giants team is on the rise. The rest of the picks, I won't go through all of them, but I think the Giants have an onus on wanting to beef up that defensive line. They seem to be doing that with some really great value picks. I love the Carter pick, the linebacker, who has immense upside. His athletic ability is off the charts, and if he can put a couple pieces together, the word is that he can do really, really well. And with James Betcher's multiple scheme, sort of 34, 43 hybrid, possibly base 34. You need sideline to sideline linebackers and guys who can rush off the edge, and he provides that. So, with that said, A+ so far for the Giants. I really hope that they take a run at some more offensive linemen, especially on the undrafted pool, because Gettleman has had success there before. Andrew Norwell being the most notable, who the Giants did try to sign in free agency, and unfortunately, Tom Coughlin snagged them from us for Jacksonville. But 3/5 of that offensive line is going to be brand new. That gives me great hope that the Giants are on the right way. Got a little confidence in Eli. Add in a playmaker like Barkley. Add in an offensive lineman, Will Hernandez. Beef up the defensive line. Get a playmaker at linebacker. Ogletree comes in. Cornerback, a little bit more O-line help. And some competition at the backup quarterback spot with Kyle Lauletta. And you're setting up competition and good players, productive players, and guys who aren't looking for stuff to get handed to them. I think this is going to be great. It's a culture change for the Giants, and it's been very, very well needed. So, A-, A+, whatever. I think it's a solid A for the New York Giants from Mr. Mark Tuff.